Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good afternoon to our dear listeners of IKIM FM. Welcome to this special interview. I'm your host Batrisha Afrina. Alhamdulillah, thank you very much for listening to us from wherever you are. Either you are listening to this through radio or even through our social media pages, Facebook and YouTube. So, for this episode of special interview, we are going to listen to the second part of a two-series interview with Dr. Abdul Latiff Ibrahim, who is the head of research and publications at International Institute of Advanced Islamic Studies (RAIS) on the conversation Trump's return, rethinking US policy in a changing Middle Eastern landscape. So, if you haven't watched the first part of the interview, you can watch it on our social media pages, Facebook and YouTube. So without further ado, let's listen to the second part.
I mean, modern history of America, right from after the Second World War. America has been constantly engaged in overseas wars.
Yes.
And it became worse, particularly following 9/11. And you could see attacking of Iraq, and then you come to twice, okay, and then you have Afghanistan, you have Libya, you have Syria, Yemen, everywhere. So a constant, it's like a culture already.
Yeah.
If you talk about a culture of war, now this is a country which has made war a culture, and it practices it on the world stage.
Yeah.
But with Trump, maybe, not to say that there wouldn't be, but on a very much reduced scale.
So it's not just his interests.
Because he doesn't want, I think on that point, sometimes we have to agree, I mean, even we as Malaysians also, we would expect that Malaysian money is spent for Malaysians.
Yes.
I mean, our money spent for our own interests. So the same thing, I think if he's using it for his citizens, that's a good thing. And that's why he doesn't want to, Ukraine-Russia war to end. I mean, it will end. I think he can resolve it. Because right now, the war is going on because of Western funding for Ukraine.
Yes.
The moment there's no more funding for Ukraine, especially from America, which is the biggest supplier of everything under the sun for Ukraine, so I think Ukraine will have to go into a peace deal with the Russians. And don't forget that Trump has a line to Putin. And they have, it's not a special relationship, but he looks at that relationship in a strategic way. I think on that point, even with North Korea, as you were mentioning earlier, he looks at all these spots in a strategic way. Because why? Why pick a fight with all these countries just because they are different ideologically and things like that? Because it means spending American money. So that he doesn't want. And that is why I think if he keeps on that track, and he manages to have his way without being influenced by what I was saying earlier, the circle around him, to change his policies, then I think we will find a calmer world. The world will be a slightly calmer, less wars and things like that, toning down. Because if his concentration is America, make America great again, MAGA. So he's focused on that. So I think that's something positive in that. But when it comes to the Middle East, again, as I was saying earlier, it might be something different. Of course, he wants a solution. He will go for a solution. He will propose solutions to resolve the thing because, again, money being spent, a lot of money, American money being spent.
Yeah.
So reducing it is a very important thing for the new administration that is going to come in. So in that sense, I think but we do not know what would he do. But in his first term, he came up with the Abraham Accords,
Yes.
which of course meant that he would rope in those other Arab countries and Muslim countries which still did not recognize Israel. So he wanted them to as a means to
Normalize.
resolve the what he called it. I mean, what the press and the media and the way they term it as normalizing, because that's not. I don't know how recognizing Israel can be considered a normal thing. To me, it's the most abnormal thing to do. But it would be better to call it just call it what it is. That is having diplomatic relations with Israel. Done. It's not something normal because it is not normal in the context of justice.
Yes.
It is and the oppression and the injustice meted out to the Palestinians since more than 75 years ago cannot be considered. You cannot say that you normalize things by accepting the occupier as a valid legal entity.
Yeah.
I mean that's not acceptable. So in that context, I think we do not know whether he will keep on to the Abraham Accords model, or he'll come up with a new plan for the Middle East. But whatever it is, like I was saying, that for the Palestinians, I would like to now look at the Palestinians themselves.
Yeah.
Now the Palestinians, for them, it doesn't matter who is in office in
It's the
America, whether it's from the Republicans or whether it's from the Democrats, whether it's Trump or it is Harris, whoever it may be, their condition remains the same. Because in the context of Palestine versus Israel, the situation remains the same. As long it is the most important thing is to understand this Israeli Zionist regime. Now the Zionist regime is a Zionist regime.
Yeah.
So a Zion is driven by the ideology of Zionism. And right now you have the most extremist regime that you could ever think in the history of Israel. Because they have the worst, the likes of Netanyahu himself is an extremist.
Yes.
Although he's in the narrative which you read in the media as if he is okay, but the extremists are only Ben Gvir and Smotrich. No, he is in the same camp. Only thing he's in a different party. That's all. They think the same. They have the same plans. They have the same objectives. So the thing now that what we are looking at is this is the situation, and for the Palestinians, this conflict, this issue will continue until there is justice. For me, until there is justice for all. I'm not just talking about for the Palestinians, also for the Jews. But that justice will only come if at this point of time now the Palestinian issue is resolved. That they get their land, that they get their state, that they get what they should rightly get as per what has been established. Other than that, there's not going to be justice. So based on that, well, Trump will have to consider that if he wants to resolve it once and for all, justice. Be just to all.
Yes.
If that justice can be upheld, then there is a way to resolve this issue.
But then people are saying that the only way to stop Israel from committing genocide, this evil, cruel genocide towards the Palestinians, is for the US to stop their support militarily and even money towards Israel. But then, looking at even the next 5 years or few years next in the future, it seems like it's not going to happen there. So perhaps are there any other ways or any other identity or party that could give some hope into help stopping Israel from committing genocide towards Palestinians?
Yes, I would say that, but before I give my answer to the second part of your question, is there any other way? I would like to go back to the first part with regards to what do you call that? Why is America so supportive of Israel?
Yes.
And like a blank check and things like that. Let me tell you, if you had been following even the recent election, U.S. presidential election, I tell you the system is so corrupt. Political money politics, goodness. I mean, who you can see people, the corporate figures and things like that, and who are most of these people? They are from the Zionist businessmen who have been providing both candidates. I'm not talking just about Trump, but also the Democrat candidate.
Also.
Everyone. So, in order to win in their system, this is what is working. IPAC is well known for funding congressmen.
Yeah.
Okay, who goes up, who goes down, they decide with money. So it's so corrupt. I mean, we talk in Malaysia about money politics sometimes, but we are a drop in the ocean compared to what is happening in America. They are spending hundreds of millions of dollars. I was told Elon Musk spent more than $100 million
dollars
for Trump. That works out to close to maybe 420, 30 million based on current rates. Just imagine one person, we are not talking about the others. If you put them all together, how many billions? And this is being used. How did they use it? Don't ask me. I don't know. But the thing is, this is happening. So this is happening, and so that is why you cannot expect that America will one day say, no, we don't want to have anything to do with Israel. We want it to be equitable. Okay, we will have good relations with Israel, but not in the manner that we are right now. I'll talk a bit about Jimmy Carter, a former president of the United States. I was reading some of his speeches and of course his memoir. He was saying about, when he was in power, he never did that. America was fully supportive of Israel. But once he was out of power, then he said what he had to say about Israel. But in other words, they can't do anything if you are seeking power in US and you want to remain in power, you have to take into consideration about the Zionist lobby. Okay, the second part of what is the solution? I mean, can there be something which can come about?
Yeah.
I think it can come about. But this is where what is happening now in, we just had a OIC meeting where our Prime Minister was also there.
Yes.
And you see, the thing is, these Muslim countries, let's just take, I think at the very basic level, I don't think there's any Muslim country that does not feel for Palestine and doesn't feel that it must do something for Palestine. Do the most minimal thing, I would say right now, is those countries that have diplomatic relations with Israel, especially in the Arab world, they can just suspend their diplomatic relations. Not even cut off, just suspend it. They don't even do that. It is shocking, because they can do that. They should at least suspend. The best thing, of course, is cut off totally
Relationship with
diplomatic relations. And actually, there's a movement. If you have been noticing, after the current genocidal campaign by the Zionist regime against the Palestinians, so many countries in the West have started recognizing Palestine. Now, this movement has to build up to include all of them. We know those countries which will never recognize Israel.
Yeah.
Let them be the tiny minority that is outside. But the rest, those which support Palestinian statehood and Palestinian membership in the United Nations. Now these countries can do something. To me, they can do it. Many of these countries have diplomatic relations.
Yeah.
But some of the Latin American countries have cut off. I think that the move is to get all these countries to suspend their relations with Israel until it stops the war, the genocide. It comes to the negotiating table and genuinely comes for a solution. This must happen. There is something to do. But unfortunately, my personal observation, I think they don't have I think at the government level, not the street level, not the people. The people are very courageous.
But some say that some experts speculate that Trump could be more influenced. If you talk about the Middle Eastern region, Trump actually could be more influenced by the Saudi, by the Qatari, by the Emirati interest rather than Netanyahu himself. So how might these regional power dynamics come into play?
Of course, when you look at some of these Arab countries like Saudi Arabia, the Gulf states, and some of the richer Arab states, they have some kind of a special relationship with the United States. They have been having for a very long time. Okay, and America considers these countries as their strategic allies.
Yes.
And they have. I think they should now, considering what has happened over more than 400 days of the genocide going on, they should play a role and push it to Trump to do something, at least now stop the war immediately, as he has said even to Netanyahu to stop it before he comes to office. Make sure that it really stops, no war, and of course look for a solution. I mean, as they have been saying all this while that without a Palestinian state, they will not have anything to do with Israel. Make sure that the Palestinian state is established, because we know that Israel doesn't want a Palestinian state. It is very clear. Netanyahu has repeatedly, and other Israeli leaders have been on record for saying, even Menachem Begin, when he was prime minister, he said he will not accept the establishment of a Palestinian state. The same happened with consequent prime ministers of Israel, right up to the Netanyahu. So Netanyahu has repeated many times. He's been prime minister for so many times. He's been in and out. This is, I hope he finishes this time. So he has been on record saying categorically that there will not be a Palestinian state. Now, so there's no, in other words, which means now these Arab countries must impress upon Trump that he's got a job to do. He's got a job to do. And that is make sure that the Palestinian state comes into reality. That is,
the priority.
The priority. They have some leverage, some influence. We just hope that Saudi Arabia and Qatar and the Gulf countries are able to do something even more than what they are doing, and especially with Trump, who seems like a realist. I mean, he's more to seeing things done, to make sure that something is done in this respect.
So now briefly, Doctor, just let's mention a bit about the BRICS, as we know that is regaining more influence, especially in the Middle Eastern region. If you look at their relationship with Iran's deepening its alliances with Russia and also China. This actually reshaping the Middle Eastern power dynamic. So, how do you think that the new Trump's administration adapt its approach to counterbalance this shift?
Actually, if I can't read Trump's mind in that manner, but I think if Trump is concerned about world peace and he wants America to become a strong nation as he aspires it to be, then I think what he did during his first term to tone down the the warlike kind of attitude with Russia, the superpowers, the other two superpowers, Russia and China, and instead concentrate on building relationships that will benefit America. Okay, but of course there's a problem, of course, between the U.S. and China. But that's the economic side of it. The trade war, which is it's been on there all the time. But of course, Trump being more, as I was saying, concentrating on American supremacy in economics, would want to see its position not undermined by a Chinese, what do you call that, swamping of the world economy or something like that. So maybe there will be still some kind of problems between China and the U.S. But I think if it comes to Russia and of course Iran, I think Iran has no choice. Of course, it needs partners, it needs backers as well, because it will definitely go and seek out the assistance of Russia and China. So that alliance is to be expected. That's a natural thing, It's a natural thing. So the thing is, what Trump may do, okay, is to ensure that this relationship, the other side, of course, doesn't undermine. I think American power or position in the world as quote unquote what a lot of people that you also mentioned, is a leading superpower and so on. So its leading role is not undermined. He will make sure that remains, because that's very important as well. Because part of the narrative, part of the narrative for elections is, of course, what's America's position in the world? Is it still the leading power? Is it still controlling, the politics and the economics of the globe? So things like that. So I don't think that will be compromised. But also taking into account that Trump is not keen on war. Starting wars. Let's go to war here. Let's go to war there. Like many presidents have had in the past. For you can remember the Iraq War, which was built on a whole lot of lies, created lies to justify the attack on Iraq, because they just wanted a war. In fact, you can find the ex-general even saying, it's on YouTube and everywhere. You can listen to it, that he said, "Why do you want to go to war? I mean, we just go to war." I mean, so they are like war is like a game for them. But I think Trump might, if he wants to concentrate on the American position as a nation which is much more richer and better, and better for the American people themselves, then he will not need to go and look for new wars. And whatever wars that are already ongoing, like the Ukraine and all that kind of thing,
to stop.
He'll start. I'll tell you another thing about this. He was, in fact, during his campaign, he said that even NATO is a big question now. Under the Trump presidency.
Yes.
Of course, America is a member, of course, NATO, but what would it? It will cut its funding. When it cuts its funding, that is going to be quite significant because American funds for NATO is the largest. So cutting American funding will of course have some effect on that grouping. But then those kind of things are actually positive. Actually, to me, NATO should exist because there's no more Warsaw Pact. The Cold War has ended, so there's no need for that kind of a situation in a world where we must move towards peace. Why keep on expanding NATO and so these kind of things are they're troublesome.
So means that we can expect for, I would say, drastic changes, but we just don't know what it will be like. But there will be changes, right? And as we are reaching the end of this conversation, I'd like to touch a bit on the recent announcement by Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim 2 weeks ago on his announcement that Malaysia is planning to draft a proposal to expel Israel from the UN. As a small country like us, Malaysia, how feasible it is for us to achieve an expulsion of Israel from the UN? How realistic it is?
Of course, everything has to start from somewhere.
Yes.
Everything has to start from somewhere. If you want to talk about, you want to find a solution, I mean, that is a solution. It leads, or at least it leads to a solution. It may not be the solution. Expelling Israel from the UN may not be the solution, but it leads to the solution. That in itself is something very important, and it should be done. What needs to be done has got to be done.
Yes.
I think I will just say I take my hats off to our Prime Minister for having done this very bold move to bring up as a leader of a small country, but a respectable Muslim country, United Nations member state, which looks at this. We have been following the issue, Palestinian issue, for so long. We are coming up with something which is not difficult to do actually. It is not difficult to do. We are ready. Malaysia is ready. Our PM has already mentioned it. What we need is, now, where are the countries, like I was saying just now, which recognize Palestine's membership in the UN, recognize Palestine to become a member of the world community, and support Palestinian rights, the establishment of Palestinian state, and many other things. In the context of what is happening right now, all right, isn't it logical when Israel does not comply with any UN resolution, especially the Security Council resolution, with regards to Palestine? Why? It's just my analogy is very simple. We join a club, all right? We are a member of a club. That club has rules and regulations. You have to comply with those rules and regulations. You cannot go against the rules and regulations of that. If, let's say, the club sets down certain terms, certain regulations, you cannot say, I will not follow your regulations. The club can just say, all right, thank you very much. That's the exit. Please leave. You go. So the same thing must apply in the case of the United Nations. You are a member nation of the United Nations, then comply with the regulations and rules of the United Nations system. And don't attack the United Nations itself, which Israel has been in. Right from the attacking the UN Secretary General and not allowing him, declaring him persona non grata recently, to the attack on UNRWA and all the other UNIFIL peacekeeping forces in Lebanon have been hit. What is this? Are you a member? The question comes: are you really a UN member state? You wouldn't do that. You would not attack the United Nations. Your fight is not with the United Nations. Why are you taking your fight to the United Nations? So I think you are not fit to be there anymore. You should leave. In fact, you don't need to be expelled. You should I would say Israel should, by itself, get out of the UN on its own. That would be better. But, okay, coming back to what Dr. Sri Anwar has been doing, I think it is workable. There are many countries which are already seeing the rationale behind it, and of course how it would work something. Let's work for that solution, and I think we need a movement, of nations. There are many countries: Turkey, South Africa, Ireland, Spain. In fact, even you can get China on board, and even Russia, and many countries to come and go on this. If expelling is the best, of course, because for what it has been doing since more than 75 years ago, the killing after killing after killing of Palestinians and driving them out of their lands, I think right now there's no question. If you can't even expel, at least you can suspend its membership in the United Nations, so it is no more there. So I think this, I would really say, is a very, very, very good move taken by our Prime Minister to resolve, to at least take steps, do something concrete. And that is actually what I can understand. This is behind the philosophy of Madani, which of course wants justice to be upheld.
Yes.
So this is one of them.
And hopefully that this action will kickstart, or say, a domino effect for more countries to get inspired to go also get involved into the matter, give their attention to this matter. Just as if you look at last year of what South Africa did, bringing Israel to the ICJ court, is very inspiring, and opened many people's eye towards the issue. And just one last as to end this conversation, what can we do to better help Palestinians?
What we can do, of course, we this is what the scholars say, and of course it's in the religion itself. Of course, we cannot go there to do anything on the ground, physically or whatever. But we have our prayers. I would like to suggest, if anyone is hearing this program, especially from the Ustaz Asatiza group, you may talk about Salah and all the kind of things. Fine, it's very important. Why can't you start your 15 minutes of your lecture with an overview of what's going on in Palestine, what we should do? At the end of the 15 minutes, ask the congregation to make dua sincerely, and then start your lecture. You must keep this spirit alive and increase. This must be done. It can be done.
Keep up with the momentum.
Yes, that is what will make people to come forward and donate. We need a lot of donations for the Palestinians.
Yes.
A lot of money. You can see that, a lot of organizations, NGOs, especially MyCare, MAPIM, and other organizations, they are doing it, and they need money, funds, to send, to get food for the Palestinians. These are things which we can do. We must keep them going. Talking about the solution, that's a big thing. That's not going to, it's not our job. That's the job of our leaders, the OIC or the United Nations and things like that. But when it comes to the people level, these are things which we can do. And we can also go into social media. Of course, we are already there. We should be well informed about the issue. We should articulate these things. We should build the right narratives to counter the Zionist influence in the social media, which wants to paint the whole thing as, Israel is the victim, things like that. Convolute the whole thing.
MashaAllah, I learned a lot in today's conversation. Well, I hope to have you again, perhaps for the next interviews. As actually, this matter, right, is actually a complex issue. A lot of things can be touched on. Of course, when we talk about the geopolitics, and we hope that today's sharing, especially the sharing from Dr. Abdul Latiff, will give you some insights and give you better understanding on how can we better better understand the issue and also better help in supporting the Palestinian. And again, I would like to thank Dr. Abdul Latiff for his insight on today's conversation. Trump's return, rethinking US policy in a changing Middle Eastern landscape. So if you like to share your thoughts or comment on today's conversation, you can leave it on the comment section of our posting on Facebook and also YouTube. So be sure to tune in to us next week for more conversation. Stay tuned to IKIM FM, inspirasi utama